From the Little America in Flagstaff, Arizona, to Florida, New York, from the Tamarack Truck Stop in Beckley, West Virginia, to the south of the Border Travel Plaza in Dillon, South Carolina. Let's ride. We want to ride shotgun with you for the next hour, talking trucking with Deaton and Doty. Welcome back. Welcome to episode 44, everybody.
Hello. What's up?
Today on the show, we've got AC making his Talkin Truckin debut. AC's on our fleet, good friend of ours, and lives right here by our terminal. AC, where are you at?
I'm in Lebanon, Indiana today.
All right.
It's froze there.
Thanks for being on with us, AC. Kevin, where you at?
I'm in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Clarksville, Tennessee. Kevin's sidekick, as always, Nate Garner. Did you make it, Nate?
Yep, I'm here. Currently in
Austin, Texas. And Ray. In
Home of the Alamo, San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio. In the
How's it going, guys?
With the floaty. And Jim Mackey, back on the road.
Yeah, I'm
in February.
here in York, PA.
York, PA. Thanks, guys, for joining us, as always. Christian Sneed in Roanoke, Virginia.
Still in Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah. And the original Florida man, Mike Doty.
Hello.
Joel on sports. Ian Dunlap on the news. Zach Kern, our producer, and as always, the famous Kumar.
Soon to be in Roanoke.
Yeah.
I always get hung up there every time you say my name. I don't know what to say after that.
Hello.
I catch him.
Like when they call you in class.
Yeah. Present.
Well, and I figured I started, mentioning everybody, and we talked about this a few weeks or a month ago, because people don't realize how many people are on every show. There's like 11 or 12 of us here, with our drivers, and so there's 4 on screen, but there's 6, 7 people. There's 5 drivers on this week, plus 3 here in the studio that aren't on screen. So I just wanted everybody to know who's here. Joining us this week, nobody. It's all us, guys.
It's exciting.
We had a great time with Henry Albert last week. Doty doesn't like watching the show when it comes out because he can't stand hearing himself or watching himself.
Yeah.
I don't care. It don't bother me. But I watch it usually once a week after it comes out to see how we did. I watched it twice this past week and was taking notes because I didn't want to forget anything that Henry said. I mean, the guy was a wealth of knowledge. It was really good.
He had a lot of good information. A lot of stuff I didn't know, especially about driving the. I still say automatics, but what did he?
Automated.
Yeah, manual automated.
Oh.
But I get what he's saying. The
transmissions
are the same. They just built a computer to do the shifting for you.
Yeah.
So you're just telling the computer what to do.
It made so much sense. Because like I said, I only drove an automatic for like a month. It was Nate's truck when I flew down there and got it, and I like just what he said about giving it too much fuel when you're gonna take off and go through a light, and it stalled, and it felt like it stalled. It didn't stall, just nothing happened. I gave the wrong signal, and now it makes sense looking back. Wow, I wish I'd have known then. Same thing with feathering the brake, using it as a clutch. I actually figured that out. Like I said, I practiced every day in the truck stop at noon, so no one was there, and it came together, but I still didn't understand it. I figured out how to make it work and feather it, but it took me a week. I wish I'd have known him then. So
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, you mentioned that too, Jim. You drove one once and didn't like it.
I don't care to drive another one.
Yeah.
And the modern day automatics.
Go ahead, AC.
I'm sorry. The modern day automatics are the top of the food chain for fuel mileage, because the computers are telling them when to shift. They are telling them what RPMs to shift at. I mean, the new Freightliner's doing 9.2, the new Volvo's doing 9.5, the new Mac's doing over 10 miles to the gallon. When our fuel cost is our number one cost out here, these transmissions are saving us lots of money.
It is, and I will tell you, AC, you're saying they're doing 9.2 and stuff. If AC, I know you watch the show every week. he's driving a new Freightliner and getting 11 to 13. Yeah. And it's not just the transmission, and as we learned last week, there's so many components to it. It's, how you drive the truck, the speed you run at. He did bring up a great point. Every time if I know I'm, I only need to go 58 to get somewhere, why am I going to go 75 and then take a 10-hour break at the shipper or receiver? It doesn't make any sense to throw that fuel savings away by lowering your speed. But yeah, I can't wait to have him on again. Yep. And then we can talk about some other things like you mentioned, Christian, the autonomous vehicles, what his thoughts are on them. Yep. That'd be pretty interesting.
And battery powered.
Yeah. Yep. So Joel, who won the pick'em with the Super Bowl? We picked scores. Who won?
You're gonna ask me that now.
We need to know for the show.
I got everything done but that.
Kumar knows. Yeah. He said he had it too.
Burke.
I know
Burke
it wasn't
won.
me.
Burke won.
Yeah, he had the closest score.
So our pick'em's over.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So Burke won again. Kumar, you're gonna have to call around and collect from everybody who participated and sent to Burke.
What did he pick?
Tell him next week. We'll get it to him.
He picked Rams. I'm trying to remember the score. I can go into my office and look, but I think it was like 28-21, if I can remember correctly.
That's pretty good.
I would have won without the refs.
So would the Bengals. No, can't say that. But.
Yeah, I think, hey, it's incredible. Burke won both halves of the season, so maybe we won't let him play next year.
No.
Can I get a second?
We can let him play, but give him a handicap.
Yeah.
The halftime show won.
We'll let him play not for money. He can just play for fun. The rest of us will play for money. How about that?
That's too good.
So who was the furthest away? With the score?
Let me go look.
Okay, that's who pays the St. Christopher fund for whoever loses. I am kind of excited. I was telling AC, he's on with us today, that one of the questions with Kumar for this week is a football question. And I said, I have no confidence in our regular 4 drivers, Ray, Kevin, Nate, and Mackie, because they don't follow football. So and AC does, and I've even been to a football game with him, so I know we got a shot at that last question with AC on here today.
I didn't even know.
Yeah. Joel, I saw the question, and I know I saw the answers, but I would have got that.
You said you didn't even know.
No, not the. I'm talking about the first, the Super Bowl question. We'll get to it, and I'll explain later. Yeah. But anyway, so a couple things I wanted to go over before we jump into the news. I want to propose a question to you guys, to everybody, not just the drivers on the show. So let's say I'm gonna. This happened 2 weeks ago, and I was gonna bring it up last week. So let's say you're at a shipper. Let's say you're at a receiver. You get unloaded. You got 45 minutes to an hour left on your clock. And you have 20, 30 minutes down the road is a truck stop. You can get in there in plenty of time, get parked, and you don't have to violate. You get on the highway, and you get about halfway there, and there's an accident or whatever, and there's a backup, and you're sitting. And maybe you're creeping along, but you're sitting. You realize your clock dwindles down. You realize I'm going to run out of time. I got a couple minutes left now. I only need probably 10 minutes to get up the road to the truck stop. I'm running out of time. And it was out of your control. So my question to you is, A, would you rather have us turn on PC and you PC that last 10 minutes or 10 miles up to the truck stop from the highway, or B, you violate and you put good notes. I was behind an accident. It was going really slow to a stop, mile marker, whatever, on highway, whatever. Which would you rather do?
Cut the Omni cable.
Meadowlark won't let you PC.
I'm not asking you what anyone or any company will let you do. What would you want to do? And there's a reason why.
So read the first one again.
Okay. So you are leaving the shipper. You got enough time, 45 minutes to an hour to get to the truck stop. It's only 20, 30 minutes away. You get on the highway, everything's going good. All of a sudden, you see the brake lights in front of you. There's a backup. It comes to a stop. You're sitting there for those 30, 40 minutes, and you run out of time. Would you rather violate and go and put notes, hey, I violated because there was a backup, you're 10 miles away, or would you rather turn your PC on? Let's say you have PC in the truck. You can turn it on and PC to that so there's no violation. What would you rather do? Go ahead.
I've actually had this happen to me.
Okay, AC, go ahead. What would you rather do?
This actually happened to me, and I violated it, put in good notes in there, and what they called me about it, and I explained to them what the notes were and everything like that, and then they said, yeah, you were still in violation, but it was better to do that than to use the PC.
Jim Mackey, what do you think?
I agree with AC there. Because first off, are you leaving a shipper or receiver?
You're leaving. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you're
it
leaving,
does.
Okay,
it
you're
does
leaving.
make a difference.
Let's say you're loaded.
Okay, you're loaded. I'd violate.
Okay, let's say you're unloaded.
I'd PC.
PC.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does make a difference.
Well, in the scenario you did, based on, I'd probably there's something in there with there's something with adverse driving conditions. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know there's something with adverse driving conditions that will allow you to violate. But I don't know if there's a certain amount of time.
There's nobody that tells you can't violate. You can have a violation. And this is where I'm going with this, because this happened, and I wanted to pose this hypothetically because there's another part to it. But it's not illegal to violate your logs. You're simply telling the truth and telling what happened. And if you're outside of your hours of service to drive, it's a violation. It's not a break of the law. You're not doing something illegal. Matter of fact, you're doing something correctly by not falsifying your log. Okay, go ahead.
And the fine is a lot less for that too, by the way.
Yeah.
During an audit. Yeah, you're fined for turning on PC when you're not supposed to, as opposed to showing a violation. There's a huge financial incentive, to be honest.
So Ray and Kevin, I didn't get your opinion, or Nate. What would you rather do in that scenario?
I mean, if I'm like Ray, if I was empty, I would PC, but if I was loaded, I'd just violate.
So here's the thing. Okay, now Ray, do you agree?
I would be. I would honestly just violate and put good notes.
Right.
And if I were empty, I mean, we could get away with PC for safe haven. I mean, if we run out of hours, but yeah, if I were loaded for sure, I'd definitely violate and just put good notes.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask Trish this tomorrow, and maybe Christian or Mike knows, but if you're on the highway and you run out of time because you got it in the backup, and you're, however many miles, 10 miles or whatever you run out of time. If you're leaving the receiver, and I know where you're thinking, Jim, but if you're leaving the receiver and you got empty, you probably got a pre-plan. You're probably going somewhere towards your next load. Is that personal use? I don't think that's illegal.
No, not if you're under dispatch. No.
Yes, and that's what I was going with that.
Technically, if you've already left the receiver and you were already driving, you're not technically supposed to go.
I agree with you, Kevin. And also, personal conveyance is personal use. You're not. I mean, you're not personally using the vehicle to go towards your next dispatch or to get to the truck stop to do your 10-hour break. But I want to pose the question another way. Okay, driver A violates, like you guys said you would, and goes to the truck stop, and he violated. As a matter of fact, one of my drivers did do this. He violated and put good notes. His violation was 7 minutes. Put good notes, called me about it. He's never had a violation, and it concerned him. Am I in trouble? Did I break the law? I said, no, you actually did the right thing. Second, let's just hypothetically, driver B, PCs, right? Now, here's how I'm going to pose the question to you, and maybe this will just give us some food for thought. Let's say after you ran out of time, driver A and driver B both get in an accident. One's on PC, one's in violation, and they're on their way to the truck stop. Somebody gets injured in the accident. How do you think it's going to look in court? when these lawyers who are not in trucking come after it from the family or whatever, someone that got hurt, trust me, it happens every day, and we're a target. And how do you think those lawyers are going to come at you when you PC'd and it's considered a false log versus when you violated because you had no choice and you were honest on your log? Who do you think is going to fare better?
Guy who's honest.
Yeah. And it's a good thing we're talking about this because, I mean, when we use PC, we don't think about these things. We just know that we got to get somewhere, and that's it, you know. Or when we're put in the situation, we know we got to get somewhere and shut down, and we don't think about these things. So it's a good thing we're talking about it.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring it up because, you know,
I mean, I had it happen one time.
So let me read you the.
Got in an accident or got stuck where there was an accident, and I had to go in violation. And Brittany and them told me just to, you know, I noted everything the best I could, and I took pictures that I was stuck in traffic due to an accident.
Yeah.
And I held on to them pictures for like 45 days, just in case I had to have them.
What were you going to read, Christian?
No, I was going to.
That was Mike, my twin brother.
The adverse driving conditions. So the FMCSA defines adverse driving conditions as snow, sleet, fog, other adverse weather conditions, a highway covered with snow, ice, or unusual road and traffic conditions, none of which are apparent on the basis of information known to the person dispatching the run at the time it was begun. Obviously, we can't predict traffic accidents, things like that, right? Snow, I guess you can kind of predict it. But anyway, so while this may include an unexpected snowstorm or traffic delay due to a crash, it doesn't include time sitting in traffic due to normal rush hour congestion. So normal rush hour doesn't include, but accidents I would think would be included in adverse driving conditions because it's something you can't predict, right?
Right.
Any of these conditions described above exist, drivers may continue driving until the intended destination is reached or until they are able to safely reach a secure location, but for no more than 2 extra hours.
But that's not on PC. They're talking about driving and violating and then putting notes in there.
No, but that falls into the note thing that you don't use PC. You put in a note,
right?
And you put in the notes adverse driving conditions.
Yeah,
really all you got to put and the reason why.
And I totally agree with that. I totally
it basically exempts you for 2 hours from what I just read.
Up to 2 hours.
Up to.
Yeah. No longer than, right?
Yeah. No longer than 2 hours.
And I agree with that. And my whole point. So this started with Gary, who's a really good driver, and he really is concerned about. He doesn't use PC. He's never had a violation with us in the last year or so that he's been here. And, you know, he called me that night and was concerned after he talked to Trish, let her know. She told him the same thing I did. And then we talked about this for a second. I said, Gary, let's look at it like this. If we turned PC on and you PC'd so that you don't have a violation on your logs, and then that same scenario where, like I said, driver A does that, driver B violates and puts good notes in for that extra 10 minutes, both of them getting an accident, who would you rather be sitting in court with some family that got injured, their lawyer coming at you saying you violated your log, but you put good notes, or you falsified your logs? And Gary totally got it and totally understood that, you know, I think a lot of times and I was the same way before. I never used PC, maybe once, but I stayed away from it for that reason because I was afraid, you know, and someone got it in my head about how the DOT scrutinizes it. When they see it, it raises red flags. They're going to dig everything they can. They're going to look at every one of them you've ever done that they can see or in the last 8 days. But I always thought, you know, I'd rather violate and put good notes because it's not a criminal offense to violate your logs. Things happen. People understand, you know, but it's when you try and I've had that conversation with so many drivers. Well, why can't I keep my logs clean in PC? You know, well, which one would you want to be sitting in court with that family that got injured if they both got in an accident? The one who violated or the one who falsified his log?
Now the depth of the law is pretty identical when you intentionally violate both of them. So, for instance, we had an accident back last September where we were driving, our truck was driving down the road, and the vehicle from the other lane came over and hit our truck. And so logs were clean and everything else. And driver said, "Hey, I'm in the clear," because he came into my lane. Like, I don't know why he drove, but he intentionally drove into the truck in front of him and then came back and did it again. Sad news for the other driver, but our driver said, "Hey, so we're not at fault, me, the other driver." He said, "I need to see your logbooks first." He's like, "But we were in our lane. What does that matter?" He said, "Because if you end up running over an hour or two earlier today or last night, you wouldn't be here on the road. You would have been taking your break, and he would not have hit you. He would have driven across the median." And he said, "Well, what's that got to do because I'm here now?" He's like, "Well, if you violated and you put yourself in a position to be hit by him, technically you can be liable for his damage in court." So he said something about punitive damages and everything else. And so thankfully,
civil.
And thankfully everything, all the logbooks were fine, and we didn't have an issue. And the other insurance just had their state was like $25,000, so it didn't cover much of anything on the truck, and there was some money out of pocket. But what we didn't run into was a fact where we were liable for something civilly inside court because we had falsified the log earlier. So a lot of times you think, well, I just need to get through today.
Right.
But there's also onset liabilities downstream that if you falsify today, it takes one good attorney in court to say, well, you shouldn't have been there, right? I mean, if you weren't there, somebody else would have been. So something else to think about when you're falsifying.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's where I'm going back to. Would I rather falsify my log and have someone barreling down at me in court looking at me and going over that, or I violated that same amount of time, and because of adverse conditions, like I said, Mike, an accident in front of you and there was a stop on the road. Jim, I don't know. I want your opinion on this. You there, Mackie? I know he might have stopped. He was getting ready to arrive at his shipper.
I'm at the customer right now trying to get my load picked up, so I'll be back in a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. So Nate, Kevin, Ray, how do you feel?
I mean, I would have went in violation. So,
yeah.
I mean, it does make sense, and unfortunately, not since I've been working here, but I have got caught for falsifying my logbook. And
by using
the
PC?
penalties in no.
Oh, okay.
I was on one of them other apps using it and didn't think it was tracking me the way that it was, and it was. And needless to say, I was somewhere I shouldn't have been, according to my logbook. But it could have been. By the time it was all said and done, the DOT officer looked at me and said, "I'm gonna cut you a break, give you a $125 ticket. I could be writing you up to $15,000 worth of tickets right now."
Yeah.
Wow.
So falsifying your log, I mean, it's not even worth it. And like I said, once you've already left the receiver and are driving, technically you cannot stop and put yourself in PC and finish driving to the truck stop.
Yeah,
you're supposed to go into violation at that point.
At least that's how I've always heard it too, Kevin. I think that's right.
Russ, I thought this all originated from my 11:40 text message on Friday and our 9 a.m. on Saturday and our 9 p.m. Sunday. I was like, well, that's the last time I send Russ a message.
No, actually, it's funny because Christian did send me that over the weekend about a driver that had to go into violation. But this happened to Gary on our fleet. He's a really good guy, and it was right before before last week's show. So I was going to go over that last week, but we didn't get to it with Henry on. So I saved it for this week. And, Gary listens to the show. He'll hear it. And he totally agreed with how I felt about it too, that I'd rather go into violation and finish that. Because at first I think Gary thought, why wouldn't I PC? Just I'm rolling under 5 miles an hour. I can easily stop, before I move forward again and click it over. But, I was, making a point that you got to protect your license and yourself first and put those worst case scenarios out there. I mean, would you rather be in that situation where you falsified your log, or were you in violation for a legitimate reason that you can prove?
Yeah.
And so that's where I was going with it.
And I think a lot of guys look at it too, like, and I know it's considered falsifying your logs, but I think where some confusion comes in too is is that they're not looking at it like they're falsifying the logs, you know, like,
Right.
hey, I just used it to get to a safe haven or to get to a truck stop because I was whatever it was, whatever the scenario was, I was stopped in the middle of the traffic and going to run out of time.
Right.
You know, so I think a lot of guys are looking at it like that's not falsifying my logs, but
when you really think about it,
in the DOT's eyes, it is.
Personal conveyance is for personal use.
Yeah.
And I think there's a time and a place for it. When you're at a truck stop in the middle of a break and you got to go fill a prescription at the Walmart, or you want to get some groceries or something like that, that's a legal PC move. I mean, we've turned PC on for that. That's completely understandable if you want to do that. Personally, I would Uber. I'd take an Uber. I'd save the fuel, and I would take an Uber and also not have a PC on my log in the last 8 days just in case I get inspected. That's just how I feel. What? I can't hear Joel.
My trucking lawyers are looking for that. I mean, whether, like Christian said, his guy got hit, wasn't even his fault, and yet that's the first thing to look at.
It is. And Jim Mackey brought up a good point many weeks ago on the show, but let's face it, guys, we're a target out there on the road. Everybody knows we have insurance. You have to, you know, especially these, you know, we're big companies. You got to have insurance, and they know that, you know, like Jim Mackey's always said, truck drivers are a target. So, you know, if that's the case, let's be prepared and let's put ourselves in the best possible situation that if something does happen, that we are in the best situation and we are legal. Yeah. All right. So, Ian, we were talking about the port earlier today. Can we get into some port news and let us know what's going on out there in Long Beach, the West Coast?
Yeah. Here, I'm pulling up now. Here we go. Beautiful Los Angeles Harbor, and
no commercial.
Quite a few
right to
miles
the news.
south from there.
Those are cruise ships.
Actually, I was looking at one of them is a U.S. warship, so that's the first I've seen on here. But yes, there are a few ships that are waiting to get in. Online, I read an article that said there were 78, but I think they might have been smoking something crazy because I don't really see them unless they're talking about all these that are sitting down here. Yeah.
It is legal, Ian.
Smoking crack?
No.
Oh.
well, that too now, apparently.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah, that happened at Giant Eagle the other day, but that's a different story.
Different story for a different day.
They are going to be hiring about 900 new longshoremen. That was one of the articles I saw.
So, Ian, wait a minute. Back up.
Okay.
The port. So you said today they were 78?
That was last week. There was an article, but unless that's all of them that are waiting down here near Baja, Mexico, they might have just had them move way down here. That might be what's going on. But
so all the green, that's all all cargo ships, right?
Yes. So they're just waiting out there.
And I was going to send somebody over to Southern California. It still looks like there's a lot of ships out of there, but the freight coming out of there has really fell off.
Yeah, the rates have really dropped.
Depends where you're going to.
Joel?
Yeah, but comparatively, well, I guess it's the time of year, too, that they should be in. I guess before Christmas, they were just really killing it out of SoCal.
Yeah. That's one of the next topics was things have been getting better. Apparently, there is still a ton of freight that is locked up there. But once again, they have decided to delay the fines for too many empty containers sitting. I mean, it's just kind of frustrating. They acted like, oh, we're going to do all this stuff to help ease this, and this is supposed to be one of the things, and they haven't fined for a single trailer yet. So it was just a lie.
But it looks like it worked, because as of February 11th, reported combined decline in aging cargo was 70% since October. Sometimes the threat of being spanked, fixes your behavior.
I still think that they need a little spanking, but that's just me.
Wow. That's what she said.
Nice.
Oh, I did not mean to press that.
So I'm back now.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Jim. We're on to the news.
Okay, and then I just wanted to talk a little bit about the protests in Canada, there's been some arrests. I think they said like 40, 50 arrests. This started over on the West Coast and slowly made its way east to Ottawa. And it seems like they can't really agree on what they want. Some people want Trudeau to step down. Some people want all of the politicians to step down. Some of them just want the mandates reversed. But what I found out is it's not even Canadian mandates. It's U.S. mandates saying that you have to be vaccinated. So they're protesting the Canadian government, but it's a U.S. Problem that they're protesting. But I don't want to stick on that too long. I know a lot of people have opinions, but I want to talk to you guys about another protest that's been going on. Have you guys heard about the protest over down in Chile?
No.
All right, so I guess they'll give you a little bit of information here. Long story short, some migrants wanted a ride from a driver. Driver denied. They threw some rocks at his truck. There was a disagreement. Driver ended up dying. So there's been these national protests in Chile. They've been blocking off some cities, some ports. One of the airports, right here they're saying all the flights were canceled.
So let me get this straight. So a driver denied picking up someone.
Some migrant hitchhikers, yes.
Okay, and then they attacked the driver?
There was, I guess some rocks were thrown at the truck, and then there was some retaliation from the driver possibly, and
is that his truck?
Yeah. No, they have been lighting some tires on fire at some of these roadblocks, but there's been a lot going on down there. Lots of pictures have been coming out. This is something that we need to keep our eyes on. Very, very interesting down there. So on to Canada, back there again. A truck was stolen in the middle of the night from a trucking company that had 2,000 guns on the trailer. So they are looking to try and find where that is. Good luck to them. It's long gone.
That was just a random thing, too. They just went through and started opening up doors, and they found them, and that's the one they took.
Wow, they should have been able to open up any doors.
You might as well have a full-on felony. You know.
Yeah.
Hey, Ian, I was reading somewhere that Canada requires the same thing, though, with the vaccines. Like, they require to cross for the border.
Yeah, that might be coming from across there. So, yeah.
From what I understand is that, I don't know if it was Canada or U.S., I think Canada is mandating it like on the 15th, and the U.S. is on the 22nd.
Okay.
It's both ways, actually.
Gotcha.
I think so, too, Jim. And I think, so... from what I understand, and I don't know. I haven't read a lot about this, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. It's really not so much about mandating, at least in America. It's really not so much about mandating that all truckers in America, running in America, that are Americans have to be vaccinated. It's going from one country to another. To enter our country, they want everybody from an outside country to be vaccinated to come into our country, and they, vice versa. Canada wants Americans coming into their country to be vaccinated. So I think that's what it is.
It's on the pre-pass. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, I was just going to say it is exactly what they're wanting, but they're not saying that you can't cross the border. You can. You'll just have to quarantine for 14 days before you can do anything.
Oh, I see. And that's
no, but I think that is. Well, I think that's going to change. I think I think the protest is coming from you have to be vaccinated, and
eventually when they pass.
But here's from the pre-pass site. As of January 15th, 2022, all truck drivers entering Canada, regardless of nationality, must be fully vaccinated and carry proof of their vaccination status. Using an ArriveCan app. Canada still considers truck drivers essential workers, but that status no longer exempts them from the Canadian vaccine mandate. Truck drivers who have not met all Canadian entry requirements will be turned away at the border. On January 22nd, the U.S. will begin requiring full. So it's just back and forth.
So in the state of Ohio, where our terminal is, there's no vaccine mandate, so to speak. Like like in New York, you got to show you're vaccinated in order to go in a restaurant and eat. At least that's what I've read.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Let me tell you what happened to me last weekend. it was a week, not last weekend, the weekend before the Super Bowl. I went skiing at a ski resort right here by our house, and I went with my youngest son, John, and Matthew, who puts our show together, the video production of it, down at Ohio State. So Matt came up, and John and Matthew and Tina and I went skiing. We got to the ski resort, and you could not go in without showing your vaccine card. And we're all vaccinated, and even my son John he's the youngest. He's about 14, but he didn't have his card with him because we didn't think we would need it. And so he couldn't go in. John, he was able to go, he snowboards. He was able to snowboard, but I had to go in and do everything for him to get his stuff. And that was the first place I've ever been to that I've had to actually do that, which kind of blew my mind. So maybe it's not just border crossings that's coming, but I mean, I was at a ski resort.
Yeah, well, that's an independent business making that decision, correct?
Yeah.
Which that's much different than a government intervention. But
correct.
Yeah.
And I just figured I'd throw it out there because that was the first time that ever happened to me.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and people could always choose not to do business with those
they could.
companies.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
So, Ian, doing the news, have you seen the latest that this Trudeau has done and implemented into Canada as far as the laws with the protesters?
Yeah, it was a $100,000 fine and a year in prison and possibly losing your license and registration of your truck, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and they will tow it, they will impound it, and all that, everything that has just been in the last day or so implemented under an emergency proclamation in Canada.
I think it's funny because there's a political side to it which we won't get into, and I think we've all skated the line pretty well here. But I think it was funny when they called the tow truck drivers and like, hey, we need you to come down and tow this. Like, man, I'm not towing a truck. And it's like who and he's like, well, why not? He's like, we all have COVID here.
Yeah. I heard that too.
That was great.
All of a sudden they all had COVID and they weren't going to go against their fellow truck drivers.
That's it. Absolutely.
I mean, and who wants to get involved in that? And I guess the best thing we can all hope for is that, sides come together and come up with a solution that works.
Yeah.
That for everybody, and
I'm going to show my age here.
Yeah.
But I do remember the truck strike that took place in the early 80s, and where there was bricks thrown off walls, bridges, and all this stuff and everything. And there was no way I was going to go drive.
Yeah.
There was no way. It was just too violent.
Where was that at?
Here in the U.S.
No, I know, but do you remember where in the U.S.?
Oh, no, I don't remember. I don't remember.
I remember one time Joel and I were teaming, and we got to Southern California, and I was driving, we're sitting at an intersection, and Joel knows California really well. He lived out there. And he goes, hey, do you know what intersection we're at? And I'm like, no. He goes, this is where they drug Rodney King out of the truck. And I'm like, oh, great.
Oh, no, Reginald Denny.
There we go.
Let's get out of here.
Somebody else.
The Reginald Denny.
Reginald
Denny. Yeah, I'm
Rodney
sorry.
King. All right, let's
Yeah.
work that one out.
They drug him out too.
Reginald Denny, you're right.
So
I'm like, let's get out of here, Joel.
One of my first stories from my uncle was he was talking about what happened when you cross the picket line. And, Volvo down in Dublin had it where, the union shut down. They're still trying to move things in and out. And we got a call from a broker and said, hey, we can get you in there and get you out. And here's the money we can offer you. And in the back of your mind, you're like, man, like $8 a mile. We could get in and out. They're telling me there'd be an escort. This won't be a problem. I'm thinking, no, but then we got the tags. And then I remember a story about my uncle at my grandfather's house when I was younger. And he had coat hangers in the back. And I said, you want me to take these inside? He goes, you never know when you're going to need a good coat hanger. That's the weirdest thing I ever heard of. And so
coming from a union family, I understand.
But later he had told a story. He said, about coat hangers, something came up later in life. And I remember that moment of looking in the back of his Cadillac trunk and seeing all those coat hangers in there. And he just mentioned, he said, you never know when you need a good coat hanger, because if somebody walks across that picket line, you can rip the radiator out through the grill. I'm like, okay, all right. Welcome to trucking. So
yeah.
Times are a little different, I guess.
I've always, when I was first started with
Jim.
my cousin, I first started riding around with my cousin and everything. And he's, we got this really good load and everything. It's going down the Dallas area. I was, all right, cool. I'm ready. Let's go. Well, we didn't know it, but when we got there, it was General Dynamics, and they were on strike.
Wow.
We did cross the line and go deliver our load. But I tell you what, I will never do that again.
Yeah, I've actually refused. a few loads this past year because it was going to that John Deere that was under strike. So we said, no, thank you.
We didn't want to put someone in that position. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't cross the line.
Yeah, I actually come from a union family. My dad was a retired carpenter from the Carpenters Union, AFL-CIO. Cool. He retired almost, 20 years ago. But what a great, it's a good life. I actually spent almost a decade in the union, in the trades here in Cleveland before I got into trucking, and it was, it's a good wage, good benefits. So I've always been a believer in the unions, and I think I grew up that way. My dad was always, support the unions, and so it's just been a part of my life. I can say that I have actually, when I was an apprentice, you have to do a 4-year apprenticeship, and there was non-union workers at it used to be called Builders Square. It's like Home Depot, and they were putting it up, a brand new facility, Builders Square. They're out of business now, but with non-union workers here in Cleveland, in the suburbs outside of Cleveland. And so they sent our whole union was there, and that's where my job was, to show up for work that day. And you actually got paid. I think it was a lower amount. And I stood outside the thing, and we were holding signs, and I was fresh, man. I was young, fresh, and but there was some big goons too, the laborers, and I mean cars pulling in. And I don't know, there was a lot of us, so I was way back, but yeah, they were definitely messing with the cars pulling in and stuff, and I saw that firsthand. And I was young. It was pretty weird, to say the least.
Yeah. My very first job driving a truck, I got my driver's license and I got hired on. I was union.
Yeah.
And my local was in Philadelphia. They did not do much for me as far as the trucking part went, but the benefits were excellent.
The benefits are great. And I will say this, for over-the-road drivers, it's just never made it that far. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but, I've been out of the union and worked on my own ever since I was, it's been a while. I only spent 10 years in.
To deliver to a union job site, you have to be union. And back then, anyway.
It's not like, I don't think it's like that today.
No, but back in the 80s, you had to be a union driver, and I worked for a company out of Pennsylvania. Actually, Philadelphia area. So we did a lot of stuff into like New York City and like this type of stuff. And to be able to haul it and deliver it, you had to be a union driver, which I was.
Well, and like the Teamsters, these companies like, Roadway and stuff, they're good union companies, but they're union, but they're not over the road. Those are all LTL drivers that are either in a motel at night and back in their bed the next night. They're big in this area. So I know a lot of guys I grew up with, their dads did that, and they weren't over the road drivers. And I think that's why the unions or the Teamsters has never went into the over the road part. I don't know if it's a good fit or what, but
I think Henry touched on it some of the other week too. Convoy, and you have an independent driver, and it's a mentality. It's more of an entrepreneur field than it is a company field. Because of the benefits you can reap from it.
It's a good point. Well, listen, guys. Speaking of unions and all that, Kumar put together our history of trucking segment for the second 20 years. And I think as we get going towards this, it's going to get pretty interesting when we get in, to the era that Jim Mackey remembers, and we're not far from that. And
30s,
doing 30s to 33 to 56 this week. So you want to?
By the way, I've got to say, Jim stopped by the office, and Jim, for 104 years old, you look great.
Doesn't he? I'm telling you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's great. So Kumar, you want to kick it off with 1933? What happened?
We got that PowerPoint presentation.
There you go.
I'm working on it here. I know. I'm working on it.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start off 1933. The American Trucking Associations is formed. The American Highway Freight Association and the Federal Trucking Associations of America merged to form the American Trucking Associations. It is the nation's largest trucking industry and includes affiliated trucking associations from all 50 states.
1933. In 1934, the Minneapolis general strike. Trouble was brewing for a long time in the Midwest shipping hub of Minneapolis. when the Teamsters declared a general strike on May 16th. The city's anti-union administration cracked down on massive street fights between workers and scab replacement drivers ensued. On July 20th, Bloody Friday, police fired indiscriminately into crowds of striking truckers. The National Guard was deployed, and the strike was ended. The city ended up bowing to most of the Teamsters' demands, and this moment ended up being a catalyst for the industrial unionism movement of the 30s. So it sounds like the union was huge back in that second 20 years of trucking that we're talking about.
That officer's getting whapped on the right side of that photo. He's got it coming. His hand is not going to block that.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah, he's going to get lit.
With a briefcase.
All right, moving on. In 1933, the refrigerated containers... 38, that's what I said. Refrigerated containers change America's food supply chain.
And speaking about reefer trailers, Mike Doty's mom, it's for food.
Yes. All right. So because Harry Warner lost today's equivalent of $80,000 of raw chicken on a truck that broke down, it left the meat to fester in the hot sun. And because of this, he knew that he had to figure out a better way to transport food. So mechanically cooled warehouses were around for half a century by 1938. But truckers were still packing cold shipments on ice. This method was very time-consuming and expensive. And when breakdowns happened, the cargo was lost. And usually that... laid on the driver. It was at the driver's expense.
So as anybody know, was Harry Werner part of Werner, the big trucking company we know today?
Probably.
Yeah, that'd be my guess, but I don't know.
So yeah, in response to these breakdowns and losing tons of product, he invented the refrigerated truck, and it basically reshaped the whole nation and seasonal agricultural shipping business. Wow.
And he called it
I'm a terrible reader out loud. But anyways,
you're doing great though.
It created the any food anywhere at any time supermarket culture.
Really good for third grade level.
Thank you.
In 1941, truckers mobilized for war. When America entered World War II, Teamsters became the driving force in America's military campaign. While German troops still relied heavily on horse-drawn carts, American troops and supplies were ferried across Europe by highly experienced Teamsters. The most dangerous and deadly work of combat trucking, which called for high speed, no headlight night runs under heavy fire on mined roads, was often carried out by segregated African American units. Most notably, the famous Red Ball Express. Wow, that sounds dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to say this. When I was in the military and we were in the field, I drove a Humvee. I was a 16 Sierra, so that's air defense, and we carried Stinger missiles on the back. And this was in training once. Joel, you probably know, you were in the Marine Corps. You guys did the same thing, but it was in the middle of the night, and this was training out in the field. And we had to drive with no lights, and I was driving, and that is difficult. I mean, you got to wait and let your eyes adapt and stuff, but it was pitch black that night, I remember.
That sounds terrible.
And, yeah, driving. You're not going fast. You're going like 7 miles an hour or something. But it was all night.
We used to do that dodging scales.
Yeah, my uncle told me that, Jim. That's funny. Let me just tell you. My uncle said... He used to always run. He owned a trucking company years ago. He's probably in his 80s now. Been out of it a long time. But he'd run from Cleveland to Laredo, and this has got to be back in the late 70s, maybe early 80s when he did it. He said they would be on the CB, letting him know if a scale house was open, and he'd triple-digit the truck 100 miles an hour, turn his lights off before they could see him, and blow by the thing and just you get down the road and turn them back on. I didn't really believe him back then, but he swears by it. Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah. Jim's probably done
it. Hey, Russ.
Yeah.
Russ also found out it was Clarence W. Warner, CL Warner, I guess. No, I'm sorry, CL Warner in 1956, it sold his family vehicle to Ford Motor Company truck, so they were not related.
That was a different Werner.
Yeah,
okay.
Yep,
Glad you
different
looked
Werner.
that up.
Yep.
I would have been believing that's the Werner.
Same here.
I'm
All
still
right.
believing it.
So what's up with 1940s?
All right, so just the kind of continuation into the 1940s, a lot happened. Trucking ended up dominating post-war America. The economic boom that followed World War II launched American trucking into the modern era. The trucking industry skyrocketed thanks to innovations like the diesel engine, refrigerated truck containers, and new roads. The country went from 521,000 paved miles in 1925 to 1.72 million miles in 1945. Trucks surpassed trains as a primary conveyor of goods and products for the first time since the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1896. 1869. Yep, I'm dyslexic.
The 1940s continued. The truck stops emerge. Small roadside pull-offs began popping up in the 40s, promising drivers diesel fuel, which was rarely offered at traditional filling stations, and a few minutes of rest and stretch their legs. These stops would soon start offering snacks, coffee, and comforts. In 1972, TA, Truck Stops of America, became the first truck stop chain.
All right, moving on.
Does anybody know where TA number 1 is?
Yes. We had that question. Kumar, do you remember?
No, not at all.
Mackie?
It's
Anyone?
I don't remember.
I think I might know.
Omaha.
Was it Iowa?
Go ahead. No.
Not Iowa.
TA number 1 is actually in Ohio.
Oh.
Right off 75. Ohio.
Well, thank God I'm not from Ohio. I'd feel really silly right now.
Right? I was close. I mean, Iowa's similar. It's the same shape.
Iowa's got the long.
Close enough. That'll work, though. Same shape.
And North Carolina's an upside down Virginia, but we're not alike. But that's fine.
Matter of fact, on Friday nights in the TA number 1, you can buy a T-bone steak on the buffet. You can get a T-bone steak on the buffet.
So where is it at in Ohio, AC?
It's a 75.
It's in Wapakoneta, Ohio.
Wapakoneta.
Yeah, Wapakoneta. Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
Yep. So that's over on the western side of Ohio, but probably between Dayton and Toledo, right? Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Right off of 75. I think it's
gotcha.
33 and 75 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right next to Iowa.
33 or 30, somewhere.
Right next to Is it right next to Iowa?
Yeah, it's right off of 30. 33.
All right. Kumar, 1945, what happened?
Al Gross invents the
war
CB
ended?
radio. Oh. Yeah, well, that too. Citizen Radio Corporation owner and walkie-talkie inventor Al Gross invented the Citizen Band, or CB radio.
Man, I had a walkie-talkie.
Al Gore?
Did you guys, Christian, Mike, did you guys, Joel, when you were kids?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had me and my sister would be on one side of the house, I'd be on the other, and
I didn't have batteries, but
you didn't have batteries. We thought we were cool, man. Anyway, go ahead.
So by the 70s, virtually every trucker in the U.S. had a CB, and they would use it to inform each other of police activity, give each other directions, and ask about nearby gas stations and way stations.
It's so different now, man, that some drivers just don't have a CB. Not only is it a safety thing, it's just, and I understand. I'm not, to inform people of police activity used to be because everybody was flying around everywhere. I mean, for the most part, we're being safe. We're doing the speed limits. But, what if you needed help out there or there's an accident on the road? I mean, you got to call it out. You got to call it out.
I contribute a lot of these big major pilots we have to the fact not only the electric logbook making the inexperienced driver go out there and drive when he shouldn't be, also the fact of the CB that nobody uses it or cares about it to inform other drivers that there is an accident up there ahead of you.
Yep. Anytime
you have to rely on technology like I have on my GPS. It tells me when the traffic is slowed down up ahead of me. And that's the only way you find out about things now. They don't.
And you have to look at that. you have to take your eyes off the road to look at the GPS or the Google map to see if the line is red. When you have a CB, you're going to hear it. And I kept mine squelched a little bit so I wasn't hearing all the chatter, but I would, keep it up enough to where if something was coming on, and I can't tell you how many times I came around a corner and I already knew that there was going to be a backup, and I slowed down way ahead of time.
The frontage road.
Yep, there's so many times that you're slowing down because you know that there's something up there, and other people are just flying right on by you.
Yeah. All right. Did you finish?
Yep.
Okay. 1954, Terry Fell records Truck Driving Man. The song was released February 17th, 1954, and was a tribute to the triumphs, hardships, work ethics, and free spirit that defined the American trucker. The song was a hit and enshrined the trucker as the icon of the American culture. It was covered by many artists such as Lynyrd Skynyrd, Willie Nelson, Conway Twitty, Charlie Walker, and many more.
I didn't know that.
You guys know that song, Truck Driving Man?
Nope. Thought I knew all the Lynyrd Skynyrd.
I've heard
Not
it,
this
but I
one.
don't know it.
Yeah, I've heard it.
You can sing it next week, Joel.
Yeah, I was disappointed he
Never
wasn't
mind.
primed up
That.
already.
Can learn it first.
And then take us out with that, Kumar.
All right. Last slide. All right. The federal interstate highway system makes the ride less bumpy in 1956. Out of fear of having to mobilize for a nuclear attack, Congress and President Eisenhower signed the National Interstate and Defense Highways Act of 1956. The bill authorized tens of billions of dollars to build 40,000 miles of interstate highways, making it the largest public works project in American history. It resulted in a continental network of well-paved, well-maintained highways that enabled anyone to travel between any 2 points in the country without encountering a muddy dirt road.
Kind of goes along with what you were talking about a few weeks ago, Jim, when you look at the terrain and wonder how they did it without these roads paved.
Yeah, that do.
And tracks.
Yep.
Yep.
You know where the first interstate was built? Where it was? The first section, you might say, for between major cities?
No, I'd guess the East Coast, like maybe Northeast area.
No, the very first interstate section that was completed was from St. Louis to Kansas City.
St. Louis to Kansas City. Oh, okay.
Interstate 70.
Mm-hmm. I could see why. Those cities are, what is it, 200 and some miles apart? And
240, I think.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, listen, we don't know, it's not something we're going to do all the time, but I think it's pretty cool to be informed of the business that we're in. And, this is kind of giving us every other week we'll do this. It's going to give us, one of the things that stood out to me with what we're doing here with this history of trucking, to see the change over time in this business. I mean, we're talking about autonomous trucks these days. And we did this second segment, and at the end of the first segment, we're talking about how it took 91 days to cross from the East Coast to the West Coast. So how it's changed so much, and then maybe it'll help us wrap our mind around and accept the changes that come in this industry, and where we're going, and what we're going to see in the next 50, 60 years in this business is not going to stay the same. Drivers. It's not.
Yeah, and just 6 years ago, we didn't have all the cam scanner apps and everything else. We were still billing off original bill of ladings 6 years ago. I mean, and that slowly started to creep into, hey, we're billing off of copies, but that was, man, you talk about a nightmare.
And wow, what a difference it's made with the technology, the way we can bill. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you used to have to mark down your mileage every time you crossed the state line, so you can figure your miles you drove in the state and write it on the form to send it in with your bill of lading.
Yep.
I worked for a company. Have you ever had to do a check, like a real check call, where like every night after you park, you gotta go?
Yeah.
Well, you have to call into your company and leave a message on an answering machine. That's my check call, driver number, name, whatever, and let them know exactly where you're at, what you did, how many miles you ran, and it's not like I had paper logs with this company, but yeah, that was a thing too that was different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember calling in one time and told him I was at one place. The next time I called in, and I was just down the road a little ways, but the first one put me in Indiana. The second one, I was back in Ohio, and I was going west. I was at the TA or Petro there in Richmond.
Yeah.
Why is this? Why are you going backwards? Oh, well, I'm at the truck stop, It's supposed the check calls didn't add up right.
And IFTA reporting got a lot easier, where you don't have to take each of the gallons and put them into a calculator, then each of the odometer at state rate at state lines. Yeah, that's. I'm also thankful for that. There's a lot to be thankful for technology too.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to see this, this history of trucking that I never really even thought about. I'm learning a lot from these every other week, and we're getting. What are we in the we're in the 50s to 70s next week or 2 weeks. So that's going to get to the era that we kind of. At least maybe we weren't involved in, but we've heard about, and that'll be interesting. So drivers, 50s to the 70s. In a couple weeks we'll go over that. If you got anything to add, if you're not on the show, or if you're not on the show, you can email the show. You can get a hold of Kumar or any of us, and let us know what you want to add to those eras. All right. So who lost the Kumar? Or I'm sorry. The pick'em. Berkey won.
Looks like Doty won or lost.
Doty's paying.
Yep.
$20, Doty, to the St. Christopher Fund. Can we get an update? I know we were at like 160 or 180 a couple weeks ago. We didn't do it last week, so that'll be 200, right?
What's your guess?
Shouldn't Doty have to pay twice since we missed a week?
Later.
What's that, Christian?
So shouldn't Mike have to pay twice since we missed a week?
Yeah, there you go.
Now that I'm in the clear, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
What did I do to this guy?
And last week, 2 weeks ago, he just threw out 20 for no reason. I don't even remember why, but we wrote that down.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Well, we're 180 or 200 with this week. Kumar's got it written down in his office. I'm just trying to keep track. That's going to be great in the spring to donate to that.
I think the 20 I threw in for no reason was the 20. The other 20 Christian's trying to get me to.
Clever.
Joel, can I get you to throw in 20 this week too?
Oh, if you ask nicely, okay.
All right, there's 40. Write it down. So we got Joel and Kumar. I'm sorry, Joel and Mike. If Kumar, they have Kumar. So if Kumar loses, they're both donating 20. Drivers, AC, are you with us?
Yep.
All right. There's one question I know my drivers aren't going to get that are on here every week. Sorry, Kevin, Nate, Ray, and Mackie, but you guys just don't follow football enough. I'm counting on you, AC.
So how many questions are there?
There are 6. There's 6 questions. There's 5 drivers on here.
5. Okay. Who? What's the order? Who's going to go first?
Who wants to go first? We'll let them pick. My guys. Jim Mackey or Ray will go. All right. All right. So trucking questions with Kumar. Let's go, Joel.
All right. Questions with Kumar. Going right into it. Question 1. When should you use the hand valve to park a combination vehicle? Is it A, to park at a loading dock, B, never, C, to park on a grade, or D, every time? I didn't rewrite these. When should you use the hand valve to park a combination vehicle? Never, every time, on a grade, or at a loading dock?
What do you think, Kumar?
On a grade.
He says on a grade. He's going to use his trolley brake. That's hand valve to park. You're just going to pull that, park on the grade, and then just get out and walk, right, Kumar?
Yeah, exactly.
What is a trolley brake, Kumar?
It's to stop the trolley.
That's right. What's a wiggle wagon?
And the trolley takes the brake.
So, Ray, is it
never?
Never.
Never.
Ding, 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 ding.
Then why do they have it?
A trolley brake is not going to hold in place, so it's on the column, right? So you use it. No, we never really use it. I didn't use it very often, maybe to do a tug test, but when
they save the brakes on your truck if it's somebody else's trailer.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
but if you're on a grade and you pull that brake and then you just let go of it and get out, the truck's gonna take off on you. It doesn't lock it in place.
I did that when I was pulling somebody else's trailer. I'd use the trolley brake to slow me down going into turns and stuff, and so I didn't even have to use my truck brakes.
I use mine every time I hook up to a trailer, and whenever you pull forward, of course you're gonna do a 5-pound tug test,
right?
Make sure that your kingpin is on, right? But then whenever you pull forward, I'll throw myself a neutral running about maybe 3-4 miles an hour, and then I'll pull my trolley just to make sure that my trailer brakes are actually engaging.
Right.
That's the reason why I use it.
Yep.
One other time that I'll use it is I pull up onto the scales, like cat scales. I'll use my trolley brake to stop me and hold me, because if you use your tractor brake, you may get a bind between your tractor and trailer and make you weigh more.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What if you have a truck that doesn't have a trolley brake?
Is that with your shorts at your ankles or all the way up on your waist?
What if you throw your bags of chains out?
My last truck didn't have a trolley brake.
Yeah.
That's when you have a big rock you carry and throw it underneath your trailer tire.
If you didn't have a trolley brake, you definitely wouldn't use it on a grade. So either way you look at it, Kumar's wrong. 1-0 drivers. So who wants to go next? I'm saving AC for the sports question.
I'll go.
Kevin's up.
All right, Kevin.
Go ahead, Joel.
Which type of truck-trailer combination has the greatest chance of a crack-the-whip rollover? Is it A, a tractor pulling 2 trailers, B, a single tractor trailer, C, a tractor pulling 3 trailers, or D, they all have the same chance?
They all have the same chance.
A crack the whip combination, or a crack the whip rollover. He says they all have the same. Kevin, what do you say? A tractor pulling 2 trailers, a single tractor trailer, a tractor pulling 3 trailers, or are they all the same?
I'm going to say one pulling 3 trailers.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh.
We got it again. It's about time because Kumar's been beating us. Kumar's been beating me and the drivers up lately.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Walking around the office like Mr. Smarty Pants, like he knows trucking.
Trying to look off my questions.
Payback time.
By the way, guys, I gave Kumar a little log class today and had him fill out a paper log. Joel gave him a little help.
But we didn't talk about flags.
Yeah.
Can we see that? So for form and manner issues?
Listen, I'll bring it to Roanoke because he can bring it with him and show you.
I want it on screen.
He failed, guys. He failed because he didn't flag anything, and I'm shocked that Joel didn't tell him. Joel just showed him how to do it.
I didn't even put his name on it. I mean, you just gave me a scenario.
I gave him a scenario.
Here, draw the lines. I didn't know we were doing the full
He never
thing.
flagged it on a paper log. You know, you started out
in
in Cleveland, Ohio. You drove, and this is where you ended up, and you got to flag it.
Yeah, I thought that
So
was
are y'all driving to Roanoke?
Yeah, we're driving.
Yeah, you should make him. You should make him drive and have.
We should make him log it. We got paper logs
with odometers at state lines while he's driving.
All right, so you log it on a paper log, and then we'll all look at it Thursday.
Cool.
Yeah, once we get.
Or
down
I can send you my OmniTrack.
Falls in line with good notes.
That's great. No, I told him, I gave him a little log class and explained the 70, the 14, the 11, and the 30-minute clocks. And he got a really good idea of what was going on there. We even rolled 8 days, and we're talking about recap. He understands how it works now. So the visual helped, and I figured the best way to learn, it's how I learned logs really, really good, was to start logging on a paper log. You really start to understand it. So you're logging it tomorrow.
And I think when he wakes up tomorrow, he should start his on duty. So for his 14 hours when he drives to work, to see if you guys make it, or if he needs to split his sleeper before he gets to Roanoke. Yeah.
So at 8 o'clock when we start at the office, start your pre-trip, and then you 15, 20 minutes, and then go off duty or whatever.
You better make sure you know when you're going to fuel, Kumar, or you could be in violation.
And you better flag.
Yeah, you're going to see him taking a nap at the fuel pump in the front of the pilot.
What we're going to do when you get to Roanoke, you know how to do the paper log now. We showed you today.
Yeah.
You know how to flag it. You know what needs to be filled out. So I don't even want you to give it to me. When we get to Christian's office Thursday afternoon or wherever we meet up, you give it to Christian. That way next week Christian can put it on screen and we can let everybody see how you did.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's perfect.
Okay. More.
All right. Joel, what was the next question for Kumar, and who's up on this one? Nate?
I'll go, yeah.
All right, Nate's up.
All right, Nate. If your trailer begins to skid, you should A, maintain light pressure on your brakes until the trailer straightens out. B, release your brakes until the trailer wheels grip the road again. C, turn the steering wheel in the direction of the skid. Or D, apply the handbrake to straighten out the trailer. If your trailer begins to skid, you should maintain light pressure on your brakes until the trailer straightens out, or release your brakes until the trailer grips the road again. Turn your steering wheels in the direction of the skid, or apply your handbrake to straighten out the trailer.
What do you think, Kumar?
Release your brakes until it straightens out.
Okay. Nate,
release your brakes until it straightens out.
Joel.
Release your brakes.
So we got a tie. That means that Kumar gets one. So it's 2-1 drivers.
Well, the correct answer isn't even there.
Here we go. Jim, let's tell us how'd they do it in 1933.
Mashed on the fuel and made that trailer coming back behind you.
That's correct. And it's kind of where Joel was going with the answer, not to hit the brakes, just to stay off of them.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Thanks for bailing me out. Question 4 for whoever.
This will be with Jim Mackey.
Jim, when hoses are not in use, why should the trailer glad hands be locked together or attached to dead-end couplers? A, to prevent mixing up the service and emergency lines. B, to keep lines clean. C, to keep the air supply regulated. Or D, to prevent loss of air pressure.
So, Kumar, just think about the question, man. When hoses are not in use, why should the trailer glad hands be locked together or attached to dead-end couplers?
What's a glad hand?
To prevent mixing up the service and emergency lines. To keep the lines clean. To keep air supply regulated. Or to prevent loss of air pressure.
Keep air supply regulated.
Jim Mackey, he says to keep the air supply regulated. What do you say?
Lines clean.
To keep the lines clean. Ding, 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 ding.
That was my next one.
3-1. Finally, we've been beat up for a while. This is good. This is really fun, and that's gonna throw in 20 and 20. Joel's gonna pay.
I'm off the hook
And
now.
no, he's losing.
Shoot.
Okay, you got to bring it. You got
Run it
two.
the other way.
I don't think he can catch us now.
No.
All right. AC. Right?
This is AC. You ready?
All right. Question 5. AC. You there?
Did we lose him? This is the question I brought you on the show for. You're the only one that knows football, AC, and he's probably checking in at his shipper. Okay.
Oh,
nice.
Well,
Make this
you
one
wanna go
You
worth
can't
2
make this stuff up.
You can't.
He's actually gone. From
All
the,
right.
room
I'll take,
spoiler.
since Christian's not involved in paying, how about I let Christian go against him? Is everybody cool with that?
Did you see the questions already?
Oh, did
No.
you get the questions?
No.
He doesn't have them, no.
I
No,
think
I just got the
I
title.
think that being none of us are supposed to know the answer, why don't we all go against it?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll just, all the drivers that are on can go. What's the question, Joel? He's got a 25% chance here.
All right. For 25%.
This is
Doesn't
easier
matter,
than you
Joel's paying
think it
too.
is.
Kumar doesn't know anything about football.
All right.
I'm talking about everybody else.
Back in 1989, we had Super Bowl 23. Who was the Bengals quarterback in that game? Was it A, Jeff Blake, B, Boomer Esiason,
AC's back, by the way.
C, Ken Anderson, or D, David Klingler? You there, AC?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't. I just come
Okay,
back
don't
in. I lost
answer.
signal there for a minute.
Don't answer, because Kumar goes first, AC. This is your first round on questions with Kumar. So, Kumar, read it to him again, Joel.
All right, AC, who was the Bengals quarterback back at Super Bowl 23?
And don't answer. Wait for Kumar to answer first.
Was it A, Jeff Blake? Was it B, Boomer Esiason? Was it C, Ken Anderson? Or D, David Klingler?
So, Kumar, in 1989, when the Bengals made their
second
Super Bowl appearance,
Jeff Blake.
he says Jeff Blake. What do you say, AC? Boomer Esiason, Jeff Blake, Ken Anderson, or David Klingler? Man, I thought he'd know this. I brought it. It's like a pinch hitter. He was my designated hitter.
Yeah, I want for some reason I want to say Boomer.
Well, you just say what you want to say.
He's not saying stick with the answer, but he's saying stick with the answer.
If you were Regis Philbin, you'd be fired.
Yeah, so I'll go with Boomer Esiason.
There you go.
That was it?
That was it.
Obviously, that was
Thank
it.
you. You know, he did get it.
Well, he could have changed his mind.
He said he wants to say Boomer.
Yeah.
No.
He could have said Jeff Blake.
The only other one out of there that might even be close could have made me think of was that last one, and I thought, wait a minute, no, he's never played for Cincinnati.
Klingler,
So,
he did.
yeah, Boomer.
I would have said Boomer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have got that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's...
Jim, you don't watch a lot of football, so I didn't think you'd have got it, Mackie. But
No, I'm gonna be honest. That was the one I would have picked.
Okay, well, we won anyway, so write it down. Joel and Mike Doty, 20 each. That's another 42.
Well, let's go on to question number 6.
There's one more question, and these were
Many 20
from last week because the
20
Super Bowl was coming. So you guys can all answer after Kumar goes, all the drivers on here.
Kumar, I didn't even know this. Question 6. The Rams first started in 1936 as the A, Sacramento Rams, B, St. Louis Rams, C, the Cleveland Rams, or D, the El Segundo Rams.
Or E, the Florida New York Rams.
St. Louis Rams.
St. Louis Rams. Drivers, any of you guys know the Rams first started in 1936? Were they Sacramento Rams, St. Louis, Cleveland
I agree
Rams?
with the St. Louis Rams.
I thought you'd go El Segundo.
No, I think they moved. They moved to St. Louis, didn't they?
I was going to say, I think it's Sacramento.
When
Yeah,
Joel
I
asked,
think they moved to St. Louis.
when Joel asked me this 2 weeks ago, I got it wrong. I have
too.
to be
I didn't
honest.
know.
I didn't know.
I really didn't know.
I think
What
it's
did you say?
Sacramento.
Well, I don't remember what I said, but it definitely wasn't the right answer. Yeah, so it was Joel. Who was it?
It was the Cleveland Rams.
I think I said
What?
El Segundo.
1936
I was going to say, they didn't start in St. Louis. I thought they moved
Yeah,
to
they
St.
didn't.
Louis.
I knew that, but I thought it was.
Sacramento.
Yeah, I thought it was something else.
Wow.
Yep, Cleveland Rams.
Shame on me. Born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, and I
still
don't
haven't
know.
seen a Ram here.
1936. You got.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen a Ram or a Brown.
You know, first you don't know the first TAs in your state.
I know,
and now you don't
right?
even know the Rams existed. Pathetic.
That's crazy.
We're gonna do a history of Ohio next.
Cleveland must stand for the man that doesn't know anything. I don't know.
So we're definitely going to be in Roanoke this week. Kumar, you're taking the camera and stuff so you can get some footage when we go to dinner with the Dawson fleet. That's going to be a good time. Mackie, are you going to make it? I heard you were, right?
Yes, sir. I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So
we're going to
if you're buying, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So you guys want to do a fun one? Why don't we look at what's the
Deadhead
over under?
500
What do we think the bill's going to be?
Oh no.
How many people are there?
I think it's going to be 16. I reserved for 20. So if anybody's in town,
Russ.
just come on by. Russ is buying.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
Write this
Gotta
one
make
off.
sure I'm there.
And so people listening on the show, Christian and
me
I
not to
a
go.
year
That's the
ago,
money.
Christian and I made a bet about
A year ago.
almost because it was this time last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was a
Yeah,
year
It
ago.
was in March last year.
March, yeah. So almost a year. And that's the Freight Club picture on the wall.
Yeah.
And that was when we made the bet. And that's me and him and Nikki Bissett in Destin, Florida.
My wife reminds me she took the picture.
Yeah. And, hey, I had some liquid courage going. We were all together out that night and walking on a golf resort. So, and he got me on that rate per mile. And, of course, we run a lot different. I didn't think about it for weeks later. And I'm like, oh, guys, we're in trouble.
I was like, if he comes back and says he's going to add gross revenue per truck on there, it might be a little different.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to start. I think we're gonna have to start advertising the gambling hotline number on our show.
Just
like
don't
we gamble
let
for
me.
everything now.
Yeah.
Right, the first
Right.
problem is admitting you have a problem.
And so you know what's funny
I'm in
is
denial.
I know we're going for steak dinners, and then when Zach said he couldn't go, I was like, thank God, that's one down. And then I
Chicken
called.
tenders would have cost
Then
a fortune.
Then I
They
called
don't serve
Ray.
chicken tenders at this
I
point.
tried to call, but they were closed.
I'm like, Ray, are you gonna make it? He's like, man, I'm at home. I had to be home. I can't. I'm like, cool. And then Doty's got something going on. He'll talk about that in a week or two. He can't right now. But I was like so happy he's not coming either. That's 3 right there that saved me. Plus Joel is, he's staying back. We got to still run the office with him.
I think that's convenient that you have so many people running the office.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Hey,
Let me catch a flight.
Running it
Ian,
into
you
the
need to make
ground.
sure I'm there.
And then Nate Garner, we thought he was going to make it. He's not going to make it. I was like, yes. And then Kevin's, had to jury duty, so he's out running. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Kevin's not coming either?
Kevin can't make it.
So it's
No,
going to be Russ and Russ?
no, it's going to be.
Russ and Russ.
We're bringing 5. We're bringing 5. It's going to be Mackie, Kumar, Ian, myself, and Tina. That's who's coming. We're
Well,
leaving
Ian, you
in the
need to
morning.
make sure I'm there, man.
We're leaving late
All right,
morning.
so this is a
Crowd.
call in all drivers announcement. So this will be too late by the time people get it. But if you are driving and on the road,
If you're
Grab
near
the seat,
Roanoke,
get your
it's
cell
on
phone.
Friday.
I'm in Roanoke. It's
Stop
on
in-
Thursday.
Stop on Friday.
It's on Thursday at 7 p.m.
Stop at the Golden Corral and Russell Pay.
You will not want to miss this meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Russ,
All dispatchers need to make sure the drivers are there.
That's right. There'll be 160 people and take the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to going. We'll actually be working from the hotel Thursday and probably until whenever you guys get cleared up and I got to do payroll and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'll meet up with you guys and to all the Dawson family and drivers, anybody that's there. We're looking forward to, spending the Thursday evening with you. It's going to be a good time. And Kumar will put some stuff up. If you don't want to be videoed, you might want to wear a disguise, a wig, or sunglasses because Kumar's got a nice camera and he's going to have some video for TikTok. And what else are we on?
Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Twitter, Talkin Truckin. No
G's. No G's.
Real G's.
By the way, I want to say I listened to
MySpace.
The Talk CDL, Troy and Ruth Ann. I was listening. They had a really good show last week. And I don't get to listen every week, but I'm trying to. I like their show, and I just wanted to shout them out again. I went into the garage and over the weekend in the evening, and I ended up being out there the whole hour of their show. Tina was texting me, "Where are you at?" I got hooked into the whole conversation, and I listened to the whole thing. So it's a cool show. Check them out. Talk CDL. You guys got anything else? Doty, Christian, Joel?
You want to go over this?
I got to say goodbye because I'm here.
Yeah, you're good. Joel, we'll hit it up next week.
anything.
We're hitting we're bumping into a commercial break here.
Screw the Rams.
And we did about 2,000 more views than ever before just from last week
nice.
alone. So
Yeah.
that's nice.
So
I just want to say, all drivers be safe.
yeah, be safe. Keep the shiny side up. Thanks to our friends of the show, Truckworks Kenworth of Dothan, Alabama, Over the Road Apparel. We're going to get some new shirts soon, Zach, so we got to talk to them again.
New design? I'll make it.
Yeah, no, I like the old design with the old school truck.
Oh, that one?
We're
Yeah.
clothes for the modern day trucker, Over the Road Apparel. Prime Wellness and Performance, our friend and Super Bowl champion Louis Vasquez in San Antonio, Texas. Al's Quality Market in Barberton, the Gator Drive-Thru in Portage Lakes. And be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and follow us on all social media, Talkin Truckin with no G's. Go Browns,
Go
go Guardians, and go Cavaliers.
Peace.